So, you've got your Python script, but how do you get it to talk to an actual file? Like a spreadsheet or a simple text doc? Well, that's exactly what we're going to tackle today. Think of it as building a bridge between your code and all that real-world data out there. Let's get into it. All right, here's the game plan. We'll kick things off with why this is so important. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of Python's open function. From there, we'll mess around with some text files, handle some real-deal CSV data, and then, put it all together at the end. Okay, let's dive right in. Before we even think about writing a single line of code, we gotta ask the big question. Why should we even care about files in the first place? Why is this such a huge deal? I mean, really think about it for a second. The data you're going to work with, it's not just sitting inside your Python script, right? No way. It's out there in the wild. It's living in spreadsheets, text reports, server logs, you name it. All those huge data sets you download. Yep, you guessed it. In files. And being able to get your program to read from and write to those files, well, that's the superpower that turns a simple little script into a seriously powerful application. It's literally how you let the real world into your code. Okay, so we know we need to build this bridge to our data. But how? Well, Python hands us this incredible, built-in tool that's basically a master key for any file you can think of. And that master key is the open function. This is where it all begins. And the best part? It's super simple. You just have to give it two pieces of information, the name of the file and what you want to do with it. So that second part, what you want to do with the file, that's what we call the mode. It's basically you telling Python your intentions. R is for read, pretty straightforward, and it's the default. W is for write, which means you're starting fresh. A is for append, just adding stuff to the end. And then there's X, which is a cool little safety feature. It lets you create a file, but it'll yell at you with an error if that file already exists. Okay, this is really important to get right. The difference between write and append. Think of W, write mode, like grabbing a whiteboard, wiping it completely clean, and starting from scratch. Anything that was there before? Gone. Poof! But A, append mode, is like walking up to that same whiteboard and just adding a new note at the bottom. Everything else is still there. You can see how mixing these two up could be a big problem. All right, enough theory. Let's get our hands dirty. We're going to start with the simplest, most fundamental kind of file out there, just a plain old text file. Now, before we write any code, I got to share the number one rule, the golden rule, really. Always use with open. Seriously, this is what we call best practice in Python. Why? Because the with statement is like a safety net. It automatically closes the file for you when you're done, no matter what. Even if our code crashes halfway through, it'll still close the file. It saves you from so many headaches down the road. Let's see what that looks like. Check out this code here. We say with open notes.txt, W as F. So we're opening a file called notes.txt in write mode, that's our W, and we're giving it a temporary name F to work with inside our block. Then, inside that indented part, we just use f.write to put our text in. And see that little N at the end? That's just code for, hey, press the Enter key. It starts a new line. And the best part? Once the code leaves this indented block, poof, Python closes the file for us. Clean and simple. Okay, so we've written to a file, now let's read from it. It's going to look super familiar. We use with open again, but this time, notice the mode is R for read. Then, inside, we use the .read method on our file object f. That just sucks all the content out of the file, and we store it in a variable which we've called content. And then, well, we just print it out to see what we got. And boom, there it is. The exact same text we wrote just a moment ago is now read back and displayed. It's that easy. We've just had a full-on two-way conversation with a file using Python. How cool is that? Okay, awesome. We've got the basics of text files down. Now it's time to level up. We're going to tackle a file format that you will see everywhere in data science, the CSV. So what is a CSV? Honestly, it's just a fancy text file. That's it. Just think of a super basic spreadsheet. Each row is on its own line, and all the values in the columns are just separated by commas. It's like the universal language for sharing table data. Now, you could try to split all those commas yourself, but why? Python gives us this amazing CSV module to do all the heavy lifting. And the tool we're going to use is a real game changer, DictReader. What it does is so smart. It looks at the very first row, assumes it's the header, the column names, And then it reads every single row after that as a Python dictionary. It's brilliant. So let's pretend we have this file on our computer, students.csv. Super standard stuff, right? You've got your header row at the top, name, marks, and city. And then you've got the data for a few students underneath. Okay, check out the code to read this. The first thing you'll notice is that new line at the top, import CSV. That's how we get access to all those cool CSV tools. The with open part, exactly the same as before. But the magic happens on the next line. We create this reader thingy by just handing our file over to csv.dictReader. And from that point on, we can just loop through the reader and Python will give us one row at a time, all nice and structured. And just look at what Python gives us. This is the magic of dictReader. It's not just a messy string of text with commas anymore. Each row is a perfect, clean Python dictionary. This means we can grab the data we want by name, like row marks. So much cleaner, so much easier to work with. Okay, we have all the building blocks. We know how to open files the right way, and we know how to read structured data from a CSV. So let's put it all together and actually do something useful with it. Here's our mission, should we choose to accept it. Let's calculate the average marks for all the students in that file. Our plan is simple. We'll set up some variables to keep track of the total marks and how many students there are. We'll loop through the file, add everything up, and then do some quick math at the end. Easy. And this is the code that makes it happen. You can see we start total and count off at 0. Then we have our dictReader loop, just like we saw before. Now inside that loop, look closely. We add to the total, but, and this is super important, we have to wrap row for marks in int. Why? Because everything you read from a file is a string, even numbers. So we have to tell Python, hey, treat this string like a number so I can do math with it. After that, we just tick the count up by 1. And once the loop is all done, we just divide total by count. Done. And when we run it, we get our answer, 91.67. But you know, this is so much more than just a number. This little number represents everything we just did. We opened a file, we understood its structure, we processed it row by row, and we pulled out a real piece of information. This right here is the heart of what data analysis is all about. So there you have it. You now know how to work with plain text files and, more importantly, those super common CSV files. This skill is, and I'm not exaggerating, the foundation for pretty much any data work you're ever going to do. You literally have the key to unlock countless data sets. So the only real question left is, what data will you unlock, and what story are you going to tell first?